Welcome to Quantum Touch Radio, supercharging your life with Jennifer Noel Taylor. Jennifer and Dr. Pat take you on a quantum journey to discover how to supercharge your life, working with universal healing quantum touch principles. Imagine knowing how to accelerate, revitalize, and engage in ways you've never experienced. In this hit show, we reveal powerful, simple steps to create more abundance, better health, emotional and mental vibrancy, and happier relationships. Imagine being simple and supercharged to cultivate life force energy for yourself and others. Get ready to be astounded. Now, here are your hosts.
Oh, yeah, boy. Jennifer Noel Taylor and me, Dr. Pat. We have a very special guest today. We are kicking it up big time. And so I love what Jennifer, you just said. Yep, I think it's time to get a haircut and a real job.
Oh, no.
That's what I loved. Because, you know, it's interesting. I was just talking to somebody about this, and I still get asked, when are you going to get a real job? But it's even worse now. It's like, are you retired? What is it that you're doing? And I used to make up stories, but I just like the answer that you just gave. I'm just going to tell people, yeah, I think I'm going to go get a haircut and a real job. So there we go. Oh, my God. So let's tell everybody a little bit, Jennifer, about what today's show is about our very special guest.
All right. So our special guest today is Carol Lee. She teaches for Quantum Touch. She teaches a lot of our workshops. And she also has her own modality working with angels called Gathering of Angels. I think I got that right. And she does a lot of work with connecting to your guides and angels, which I love. I think it's such a great way to go about life if you stay connected to your guides and angels and let's say the higher energies. That's how we create flow. And so she's really spectacular. She also is part of our advisory committee, which means she helps make decisions in the business as a whole. And she offers wonderful guidance for us when we have these meetings. She's been part of that for over a year, maybe 2 years. So she's just fantastic. I just love that she's a part of Quantum Touch. She's really helped guided our whole entire company to a higher energy. And yeah, as her role with all our committees, and we discuss a lot of stuff, and I love her input. So anyways, so introducing Carol. Well, welcome,
hi, Carol.
Hey, hi guys. I'm humbled. Thank you, Jennifer, for that nice intro. And I'm blessed and honored to be a part of the Quantum Touch organization. And I also love what you said in the beginning about getting a haircut and a real job, because my first 30 years of life was a hairdresser. So that was a real job. But now when you use the terminology, when are you going to get a real job? That sounded like my husband, because he would say for the last 25 years, when are you going to get a real job?
Oh.
But in my world, I believe that if you're doing something you really love, it's not like a job. It's fun. It's exciting. And so this is I call it my God job at this point in my life. So yeah, I did my real job raising my kids, my family, being married now for 49 years to the same old guy. But this is my real job. And I'll share again, this is my God job. So,
yeah. I think it's awesome. Carol, really glad to have you here. This is Pat. One of the things that I'm really struck by is the three of us, and Jennifer, you talked about this in previous shows, but I think what I'm finding is that a lot of us have in common that really are giddy about our lives, right? Is that we've gone through some really not so great times. We've overcome some challenges. We've moved beyond obstacles, and here we are today. I know that that's true for you as well. What is it about those challenges, those obstacles that not only got you to where you are today, but helped shape and define who you are today?
Well, it's just life. I believe everybody was put on this earth to have a certain role. And, you know, when your soul starts talking to you, it's like, or every thought is a prayer to me. So I've always been pretty connected to our God source. And so I would say, God, when is it going to be my turn? This is when I was raising my family. And, at times we didn't have two nickels to rub together, the old saying says. And so it was just, I wanted to be the best mom I could, the best wife I could, the best, cook and bottle washer and all that kind of stuff. And then it's like, oh, God, when is it going to be my turn? Well, I want to tell you, we best be careful of what we ask for because I've had some pretty interesting experiences to get me where I am today. And I feel very comfortable in this human suit I'm wearing around, having fun with what I do. So,
I think it's really, for me, when I think about this, and Jennifer, I'd love to ask you, there is an energy, there's something that quantum touch has done and is doing. And we've talked about this, but the idea of supercharging your life, it is so now. And what I mean by that is that I see more people coming out and doing things they've never done before. I see more people wanting to come out and do things they've never done before, but not quite having the, like the chutzpah to do it. And yet at the same time, people so relate to the notion of that. And I want to ask both of you, but Carol, I think you, is this thing we call energy healing. I know it saved my life. What do we need to know about your journey, Carol? How this all started for you?
Consciously. In 1987, 86 and 87, I was to my knees in pain. I've worked hard my whole life, like I said earlier, as a hairdresser, and loved every single day of it. Loved it. I loved working with people, and it was, I had some ruptured disc in my back, and I had surgery. So I had 3 surgeries in 19 months, and the third time I had a near-death experience where angels literally came and took me up through a tunnel of light. I didn't see spiritual loved ones or anything like that. The angels took me and actually stood me before Jesus. And when that happened, at that time, I had remembered it had happened 2 other times. The first time I was 4 years old, and that was documented in a hospital. The angels, when I was 4, I had a very high fever. They lifted me, and they actually sat me on Jesus' lap at the age of 4. So I started remembering all these things when I was on the other side. And the Father said to me, do you remember our visits? Do you remember? And that helped me recall. And, there is a huge story behind it all. And I share that in my classes, Gathering of Angels, now that they help me put together. But it's like Jesus said, you will go back and you will study and you will learn. Well, my goodness, I was I hadn't gone to a traditional college. I was a hairdresser for years. I taught cosmetology. I owned my salons. I had a very lucrative business for years and years. And all of a sudden, my world was turned upside down when all of a sudden I could hear the voice of what I felt like was Jesus. And I could see angels, not only around me, but other people. And so it was like, okay, God, what do I do with this? I'm telling my family I'm seeing angels, and they think, they need to have an intervention for me because I'm going all bonkers on them. So it was kind of interesting because my three daughters are very educated, and I was seeing a doctor, and the angels literally guided me by name to the doctors, the psychiatrists and psychotherapists, to help me understand, and the ministers to help me understand what was happening to me. And physically, nobody really could share. It's like, how can all of a sudden this world that I never dreamed of opened up, and to make some logical sense out of it? Well, gradually it was a medical doctor who said to me, "My dear, you know you're a channel." And I didn't even know what that meant at the time. So, then we got to a psychiatrist that dealt with mind, body, and spirit. And she was at Wright State University. And she said, "Will you send me your first book? There's nothing wrong with you. If you're getting this kind of information, you need to share it." And I kept saying, "Is this safe?" I didn't know a chakra. I didn't know anything about energy systems of the body. But the doctors told me what books to get to read. So I began with The Hands of Light by Barbara Bennon, and The Road Less Traveled. And so it was literally medical doctors that helped me get to where I am today. I did not study with psychics on a corner. I don't call myself a psychic. I just stay connected to our God source and allow the information to come in easily, effortlessly, and lovingly. So that's kind of how I got started.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. Jennifer, right? I mean, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've probably read every single near-death experience out there. It's one of my favorite topics. And I've interviewed people on different shows who've had NDEs. I feel like that's the origin of the energy that we're talking about. It's beyond physical. It's what I would call spiritual, or of that realm. And we're bringing that piece of heaven, that piece of love into earth by working with this energy. And I feel like you're reading a near-death experience, if people are ever feeling discouraged or wondering what life is about, listening to Carol's story or reading NDEs are a great way to really understand, I feel like, what's the real purpose of life is. So I just love those types of stories.
And what I love about them is I think only an individual can know what that's like. However, there's a collective consciousness right now that is so tapped into this energy, really tapped in, and a lot of people really look at the internet and social media and they put it down. But we're now able to connect with other people that are going through this and sharing their experience. Because, Carol, my experience was not quite the same, but I did end up in a psychiatrist's office, Dr. Jacoby. That was his name, Dr. Jacoby. And because at some point your family, and I was a really young child, at some point your family looks at you and says, she's either a compulsive liar or there's something wrong with her brain. Right?
Right.
It's just like, there's just something up there that just is not working, or she's just lying. And so for me, my life, I grew up with this tag that I lied, and I wasn't lying. And it's funny about that, because you could never convince me otherwise. There wasn't any punishment you can give me. There wasn't anything that we could do that would change that. What happens? I want to ask both of you, what happens when we are not able to share our experiences like that? What happens in the world that we live in, where we're consumed with this connection, and we don't always have a great experience. What have you discovered to help people stay in the energy and the flow of their truth? Jennifer, who wants to go first on that?
I'll address that one first. So first of all, I feel like once you've seen the other side, you can't unsee the other side. You know that there is another side, that there is that we are spiritual beings. Once you really get that on a really deep level, and I think having an NDE really, you get it. You've talked to Jesus, you've talked to your angels one-on-one. It's like you get it. So the idea of whenever there's a naysayer in front of you, or they're calling you a sham, or whatever it is, if you're putting stuff out this out to the world, you get a naysayer, or that person who doesn't believe, it's really up to God. I mean, that's their child, and I feel like that's God's business. And if they don't believe, at least you put your message out there. And if somebody's speaking negatively about you, that's really their stuff. And it's like, it's truth. I mean, we know that there is another side. And as long as we're putting our truth out there and we feel solid that this is really authentic, that we can't go wrong. Even if there are naysayers, it'll get to, I feel like I have faith that it gets to the right people that need to hear it. Even if somebody is hostile to the message, they still on some level needed that information, because I believe that God is in charge, not me, especially not my human form.
Yeah.
So, right. And so there's a mystery of, the divine flow that interconnects us all. And our job is just to do our best to tap into that flow and let what we're saying, let ourselves be channels of that divine energy and bring it out to the world, and let it land where it may. And that's none of my business, really. So I don't know if maybe Carol has a perspective.
Yeah, Carol.
Yeah, thank you. Jennifer is absolutely right, but this is where, to me, where the principles of quantum touch come in. It is, if we just let go, and I'll say let God take care of it, we're going to resonate, our vibrations are going to be high enough. What's going to happen is the right people are going to come into our space, because we hold a certain vibrational frequency. We hold a certain level of knowledge that people are seeking. Now, there could be plenty of people out there that don't believe in what we do or our work or working with the unseen. I don't worry about that anymore. When it comes to my classes, my clients, I know that every single person that sits in a chair that I present quantum touch or the angel work to, they are absolutely supposed to be there. If I have one client a week, I don't care, because I know I'm going to make a difference in that person's life. I'm going to say something or do something or share something that they will do. And that's when I went through and doing writing and notes and journaling all about the angels for years and years. And they put this class together called The Gathering of Angels. It was a very different concept than a lot of things that are written in books. And they kept telling me, you're going to have to change the dialogue. The language needs to be changed here and now in this time and space. And they kept talking about this time and space. And it was pretty interesting, because very specifically they said you will connect people only with their vibrational frequencies, the energy and essence of the angels they have been assigned in this migration, this lifetime. So when I started in the Quantum Touch program, it truly was an answer to my prayer on a physical level of, oh my God, Richard Gordon has been sharing things that helps this work dovetail right together. In Quantum Touch, we don't necessarily use the words angels. We will say help from above. We connect with help from above. And then we work with all of the energy centers and all that stuff, and that really connects us. But in my world, as I'm seeing and feeling and sensing my clients and my students, I can literally see where they are connected, where they're disconnected, and how to connect them. And that is with the levels of quantum touch that we teach. So I think it's pretty profound how everything has just come together for me.
Mm. I love this. I love what you're talking about. And I want to ask this question. Perhaps we can talk about it when we come back from break. You know, it's fascinating. I too had an experience speaking with Jesus when I was in Catholic boarding school at 6 years old. And I shared that on air. It was in the Stations of the Cross, and I looked over, and it was the ninth station, and Jesus, I think, falls down for the third time, according to that story. And he said to me, I don't remember the exact language, but it was kind of like, don't worry, your mom is with me. And I told Sister Michael Anthony. And I said, Jesus just told me, so this is in the middle of church. First of all, you don't, in the middle of a church service, Catholic service, you don't be pulling on the nun's robe and saying, hello, Jesus is talking to me. And what happened with that is that off I went to Mother Superior, took me in a private room. Nobody talks to Jesus. And Mother Superior had a note from my dad. My mom had just committed suicide. I didn't know she committed suicide, but she had just passed. And yet at the same time, you know, you go through life and you look at those experiences. And as a child, I was never shut down again. Do you know what I mean? Something something opened up. I don't know how to talk about it really, but I was open now, open. And it didn't matter what anybody said. You weren't going to tell me that I'm looking over there at that ninth station of the cross, and you couldn't tell me I didn't hear that. So something changed. When we come back, I want to talk about what have you both discovered in the spirit of quantum touch and healing, energy healing, that when someone has an experience, can we just call it opening for now? What is it? What is that energy? Like with you, Carol, with you, Jennifer, what is that energy now that we now have at our fingertips? Is it the energy of possibility? Is it something else? Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. We're going to give you lots of information about Jennifer, lots about Carol. I'm Dr. Pat. We'll be right back with the show. Everybody, welcome back to Quantum Touch Radio. I'm Dr. Pat. I'm here. Jennifer, Carol, before we jump ahead, how can people find out, Jennifer, more about you? How can they find out more about Quantum Touch? And then, Carol, for you, how do they find out about you and what you're up to?
Okay. Well, first of all, Quantum Touch is www.quantumtouch.com. And there you can find out all sorts of information about our workshops, our instructors like Carol, our practitioners if you want a session, and all our products. So I highly recommend going there if you need more information about energy. And I have a little side project I do. I like to write books. I'm writing my second one right now, and you can find out more information about that at jennifernoeltaylor.com and see what I'm doing with my second book. It's on the energy of money, basically. And off to Carol.
Carol, how about you?
Thanks. Well, I have a website. It's healingquantumly.com. So that's one way. On the Quantum Touch website, I'm also one of the founders of a holistic fair in Fort Worth, which we have several thousand people that kind of key into that. We have a meetup group. So with the holistic fair. So there, you can Google me. I'm usually on the first page if you Google Quantum Touch or Energy Healers. So that's kind of a nice thing too.
Yeah. Oh, that is so cool. Awesome. Thank you. And one of the greatest events I've ever attended was in Fort Worth. And so I've just decided, I've decided for 2019 that I'm seriously going to get out more. Um, I want to ask both of you before the break. I was talking about that experience that happened, and my sense of it now, looking back. My stepmom would say that that the way that I was as a child was very different than my two sisters, stepsisters. And as we talked about that experience, by the way, that got me thrown out of Catholic boarding school, just want to say. And my stepmom was there for that. Yeah. Yeah. And what she did, and I witnessed this and I remember this, is here comes my stepmom, wasn't my stepmom yet. She's about 30 years younger than my dad. She had to be like 21. And she goes into this environment, and the sister and the mother superiors, they were all over her. And she just backed them right up and just said, no, you're not going to call her a liar. You don't have any evidence. And hence I was thrown out of school. But before the break, I said, my sense is something opened up in me. I want to ask you, that opening up experience, now we call it energy, right? There are a lot of things we call it. I'd like to ask each of you what your sense of that opening up is, and how have you seen that in the folks that either come to you for services, or also like each of you that have participated in quantum touch, that have become experienced facilitators in quantum touch. How do you describe that, quote, opening up?
I guess I'll start. So first of all, I have to say it's very ironic you got kicked out of Catholic school for seeing Jesus. Like, what? That just seems, that's hilarious at some weird level. So, yeah. Anyways, so seeing energy or feeling energy, when I first felt energy, right? I think a lot of people come to our workshops and they don't have experience yet with energy. And that's what I love about our workshops is somebody who has no experience can come in, and at the end of the first level workshop, a lot of people can feel energy at the end of that. I went to massage school and I started doing a lot of body work, and I kind of had a day where I suddenly was able to feel energy. I could feel this field around people. It was very palatable, and I could see lights coming off of people. So there's like a couple of layers of lights around people, and all of a sudden I could see that. And it just was like, wow, there's more to life than what I've been taught and what I believed in the past. It just really, I realized that this energy is first of all, the universe told me this energy can help facilitate healing. Second of all, working with this energy is your life work. And at the time, I was writing software for a computer company, and it was hard to believe that was actually my life work, and that there was a lot more to life than the physical. And that started my journey. But once you feel energy and you open up to where you start to feel energy on a regular basis, and that's where I went. I started to feel it around people. I started to see it all the time. How do you unlearn that? You can't unlearn it because it's so real, right? It's telling a person that seeing Jesus is not real. You can't say that's not real because it is real. It's more real than a lot of physical stuff here to me. Like the energy is like the foundation of everything. And I see it that way. So how do you can't unsee that. And so that permeates my world, where I see not only what's going on physically, but I see the energy behind what's going on. And to me, it's as palatable as a water bottle or a desk. It's just is. And so that's how I navigate. And I hope I answered the question.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because, everybody thinks, not everybody, but a lot of people thinks that when we talk about energy and healing, it's a one size fits all. And I think we have been talking about experiences where meeting somebody where they are, and whatever that looks like, getting to the place where they are either relieved from whatever is ailing them, their pain, emotionally, physically, spiritually, you name it. And the question really is, really for you, Carol, this opening up that Jennifer was just talking about, this opening up, this process, especially for people that have never done energy work before. I mean, I was one of those person. I got a mystery disease. That's how I got tapped into it. And I probably, if you'd have seen me in the middle of my first experience, most people would have thought she's never coming back, right? Not true. But how about you, Carol? This opening up, as I called it, at least that's my
Right.
experience.
Well, I'll go back to your story about when you were in school and got in trouble and kicked out, because that's, my first experience when I was 4 years old. I was in a hospital with 105.6 fever. I'll never forget it. And back in those days, and still to this day, they pack you in a bed of ice when you have that high of a fever. And back that many years ago, you are in isolation if they don't know what's wrong with you. But this was a Catholic hospital. And so the nuns were around my bed, baby bed, by the way, in a tent. They were praying. But I went, there were angels that came to take me to Jesus. And I remembered that, and I'll never, it's something you'll never forget. So, but when I came back and told my mommy and my daddy that the angels took me to see Jesus, the doctors and everybody said, no, that didn't happen. So you shut down. They said, no, that was the nuns praying. Well, I wasn't Catholic and I was 4. So those people around my bed that were praying were kind of scary to me, because back then they were in habits and they were very unfamiliar to me. But an angel was an angel and Jesus was Jesus, and I knew the difference. So, but they, through my life, I always had a knowing when somebody was truthful or not. I would come home from school and say, Mommy, that, my teacher must have gotten a fight with her husband and did something happen at school? And I would say, no, I just know it. Or my mother may say something and I would look at her and say, well, Mommy, that's not true. Or, you don't talk back to adults and you get in trouble a lot. So, you, as a child, you start shutting down because you don't know whether it's a truth or not. So moving fast forward to when I opened up again, I believe that opening is when your soul opens up and you're really connected to that, your God source. And the angels literally told me in conversations, because I journaled a lot when this happened, it was like, okay, tell me what the soul really is, because my chest hurt. This was before I even knew about energy systems. My chest would hurt and I felt like it was going to like blow open, or it was hot. It would be so heavy. And the angels told me that the soul is a word. It's an acronym. So for source of unconditional love. So when I stand in front of someone, I allow that energy to flow, unconditional love that just permeates. And if you could see it, it's pretty amazing, because people that's taken or photography, my throat chakra will be pure white, or my heart chakra will be radiating like a diamond. And it's pretty interesting, because people in an audience, I will share information with them and I will look and they'll be crying. I had a man just last week I was sharing about the angels to him and how they can connect with them. And he says, oh my God. And he had tears rolling down his face. That's spiritual emotional. That's not, so his soul was searching for something or someone on a physical level that he could trust, because I'm certain that this man had experiences that he couldn't talk about. That's what happens. So I know who I am at 72 years old, and I really am not here to prove anything to anybody. I know what I know. I'm pretty secure in what I know. I've studied energy medicine. since 1987, and I'm certified in a lot of things. And because I can see energy, it's like, just let it flow. And, to me, God will give me the words I need for every person. And just let that source of unconditional love just flow. And that's at soul level. So that's the opening. That's when we touch somebody's soul and they'll cry. They don't even know why they're crying because it's a spiritual emotional. It's not even on a physical level.
Yeah. This is, for me, right, what you both are talking about here is that most of the time, if you talk to the people I talk to and you listen to how defeated sometimes folks can get, especially around a physical condition. And when you get somebody that doesn't look at you in that way, that doesn't look at you in probability and statistics, but looks at you in possibilities, right? And wellness, it's a game changer. And it's a game changer all around. And, today, that opening for me has equated to living in, I wake up every day and I say, I start my day a very quick meditation. God, tell me tell me what is mine to do today. And then I do it. And I get an answer like immediately, almost before I ask. And you're right. Some days it's do the laundry.
Yeah.
Do that laundry. And my mind wants to say, oh, no, I'm too busy. And then I remember, look, if you're going to ask for what to do, then just do it. But I want to ask about a little bit broader, because now today I ask and I get information that doesn't seem logical. Just like being here talking to you and talking about our network, which is going to be completely launched in February of next year. And there's not a logical reason that I could explain to people why it is everybody on our team is all on the same page. And we made a decision to do something that it just isn't being done. There's no real logical reason, except that we asked the question as a team and we got the answer. This is what's possible. This is what you all are supposed to do. And every day we get that. So I want to ask you both, how do we talk to our folks here today so that they could keep that possibility, that opening energy going? Because it's not like a one-time thing, and yet we think it is. Right? Jennifer, you want to jump in?
Yeah. So my feeling on logic, first of all, if you're receiving your divine guidance, it's probably really scary to you. And also it isn't logical. And that's probably part of the fear. Especially with my background in computer science, we're dealing really with 100% logic. And a lot of our, let's say, our paradigms in our normal society are based on mathematics and logic. I have found that if you're looking to follow your guidance, throw those concepts completely out the window, and also prepare, be scared sometimes of what your guidance is asking to do. And I think sometimes for me, that's the hardest part is dealing with feeling guided on a non-logical path that's also facing some of my biggest fears. So for example, I'll give you this example. When I went to New York, I was invited on Jenny McCarthy's show. Now, one of my biggest fears is public speaking. I like to just hide behind the computer and like write, that's my preference a lot of the times. And so being invited on different shows and stuff every time, especially when I first got started, when I was on Jenny's show, like I was dripping sweat and I was just like so nervous I could barely talk because it was really, I felt very intimidated. And but that was my guidance, was asking me to go into more speaking. And now I love it. But when I first got started, oh boy, it was scary to me. So I just think sometimes our guidance will invite us to really stretch and face some of these things that maybe we're afraid to do. when I quit my job to do Quantum Touch. I was excited, yet it was a little bit scary at the same time because I didn't really know how to run a business or any of that. So I just think that we know we're on the right track if we're going to stretch.
Yeah.
And it isn't logical. None of my guidance I ever received seems to have any logic associated with it.
Yeah. No.
Throw that out the window.
Yeah. I mean, now there's an expression here jokingly on the team. It's like, oh boy, she just sent us a little Skype message. She said she's got a great idea. Uh-oh. Carol, how about you?
Yeah, well, hey, I'd like to share because once again, this is cute. This is Quantum Touch Level 2 in its finest. Because in that class, what we teach is about turning in those possibilities to probabilities. Now, how do you do that? And what you said, I'm going to do a quick read on YouTube, Pat, if it's okay.
Let's do it. Come on. Let's do it. Bring it on.
It's like, I don't know if you're ready for this one.
Hey.
When you're working with an organization or a group of people, then what you said is you're all on the same page, okay? So work environment wise, you all may be on the same page, but each of you have probably a very different home life. And
Yeah.
when you have a partner or when you have kids or when you have, a something other than, well, we're going to do this and we're all on the same page and this is going to happen, it has to be orchestrated from above. And this is what we teach in Quantum Touch Level 2, which I love. That's one of my favorite classes. Once you have the level 1, then the turning in the possibilities to probabilities and getting that grounded into, you have to clear away the energies that could be causing the glitch or the whatever it is. And even though you said everybody's on the same page, but everybody is not actually.
Right.
When it comes to their overall life, because when we make changes, you best be sure that if your life all of a sudden gets turned upside down, what about my kids? What about my wife? Oh my gosh, what are my friends going to think? Or sometimes we have to leave some friends behind. Sometimes we have to leave some employees behind. Sometimes we take on new friends. We have to ask our Creator to bring in all the right people, all to make this happen, or not to make it happen, to allow it to happen. And then bringing on all the right people. And that may be, doing some things you hadn't even thought of yet. But when we can turn the possibilities into probabilities and really integrate that down into your systems, it has to be with all of you, not just a few. And that has to do with everybody's entire life, believe it or not.
Yeah. I should have said, we're all on the same page today.
Exactly.
Today was the word I left out because everything you just described, that's what this entire last year was about. It was about everything you talked about. Some people moved on. We added new people, but you're absolutely right. The people, the resources that showed up, I've said this more times than I could even imagine. You just can't plan things that well. The energy of above, for me, knows how to take whatever mess. And we were in a little bit of a chaos there earlier this year. But that stuff there, humanly, I know that I could not unorchestrate that. And so I had to go deep and say, okay, if you're ever going to help me, come on now. It took a year for us to be like when I say we're all on the same page. today. That includes a new addition, 3 other people over here that, you know what, Carol, just miraculously showed up.
Exactly. And if you allow the universe to do it, but you all, and just offer that up and let go of it.
Let go.
This is, and each of you really, what I did when I helped some friends sell a business for a lot of money. I was working with 5 nurses that owned a agency, and they decided they were ready to sell it after 5 years. Each of them put $10,000 in. That really a whole lot of money, and they turned this business in 5 years to an unbelievable profit. And it took me and them, I worked with them once a month for a year to get them all on the same page, to clear everything away. But I helped them sell their business for almost $2 million. So they made a pretty hefty profit. So that's part of what I do. Part of what I do is help businesses clear things and get people on the right page. But I use the techniques of quantum touch.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What a great show. Thank you both. I want to just make sure that folks know how to find out more about each of you. So I'd love to know, Jennifer, starting with you, what is your personal message for today? And again, please give people a website, how to contact you, and also how to take classes. And Carol, same for you.
Yeah, so my personal message is really something I've been looking at too recently, is how to, finding the peace within at every moment. So instead of looking outside of ourselves, like when this happens, then I'll be happy, or when this happens, then I'll be happy, is really connecting with that peace that we all have right in the moment, and then making choices from there. So that's been what I've been focusing on. And also my message, for everyone, is connecting to that peace that we all have access to right now. Which I love. Anyways, just to repeat, I have 2 websites. One is quantumtouch.com, and that's a lot about what we teach with Quantum Touch. And then I also have my personal website, because I work on books, working with energy around business and money. And that site is www.jennifernoeltaylor.com.
Awesome. Carol, how about you?
Okay, I have a website. It's healingquantumly.com. I can also be located on the Quantum Touch website. I am an instructor of all the levels of the programs that we teach, the whole curriculum. I also have a personal Facebook page, but I also have a Healing Quantum Lee Facebook page, and also the Holistic Fair of Fort Worth. We have a meetup group. I'm on LinkedIn. So there's a number of avenues that I can be reached.
Awesome.
And I really like to share the energetic approach to health and well-being is a very valid approach to healing. Just because we work with the unseen, we also, we can go on television, and Dr. Oz and Oprah and all those shows, they do work with energy medicine. It is real. These are modalities that are very, very valid. We combine energy with meditation and quiet time. And that's where you find peace within and connected. That's where you'll get your answers.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate both of you. Thank you so much for this absolutely incredible, supercharged conversation. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Carol, for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Jennifer.
Thank you, Dr. Pat.
Oh my gosh.
Bye-bye.
And I want to thank all of our listeners for doing what they do. You're the best listening audience in the world. Benny, thank you, pushing the right buttons. Everybody, we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Quantum Touch Radio, supercharging your life with Jennifer Noel Taylor. Tune in on TransformationTalkRadio.com as you take a quantum journey and tap into universal healing quantum touch principles to create an amazing supercharged life. For more information about Jennifer, visit JenniferNoelTaylor.com. And remember, accelerate, revitalize, and engage in your supercharged life.